First story. I think my wife is an alcoholic and having an emotional affair. Me, 42M, and my wife, 46F. We have 3 kids together, married 14 years, have been going through some marital struggles. Typical marital stuff. Resentment build up on her side, complacency on my side. About a year ago she started learning to play golf, which I fully supported, and she took lessons, played golf with another guy, 45M, who she met at our golf club. He's married with kids, and I thought it was really weird that he would want to play golf with my wife. She insisted they were just friends. I tried giving him the benefit of the doubt, but after hanging out with him a few times he gave me the creeps. Always flirting with women at the club, wears strong cologne, made some weird comments about women. Usually my wife and I are really good about making friends as a couple, and we are usually on the same page on who we don't like. Anyways, I told her that I did not think their friendship was appropriate. Them spending 4 hours together alone was also not appropriate, and I made clear that I felt this was a boundary in our marriage that I did not want her to cross. We argued, but she ultimately relented and agreed not to spend time with him alone. About 60 days ago, I was on a business trip internationally. I ended up finding out that she played golf with him and then had lunch with him after alone. She had lied to me and told me she was playing golf as part of Girls Golf League. I was extremely upset and felt betrayed. When confronted, she told me I was being overly jealous and that they're just friends. When I finally got home from my trip, we got into a huge fight and she told me she wanted a divorce, told me I'm controlling, complacent, I was suffocating her, I was jealous, not present, not a good father, all the stuff. I went into a tailspin and reassessed my life, worked on myself, pushed for therapy, individual and couples, and identified that I was still suffering from some depression as a result of my father's passing a year and a half ago. In addition, I identified that this caused my anxious attachment style to really be exaggerated. If I'm guilty of anything, it's loving her, wanting to be with her too much, as well as having trouble setting boundaries and saying no to her. We also identified that she suffered from avoidant attachment, which made a lot of sense given her feeling suffocated. Counseling has been going great. I was working hard on giving her space, working on myself. I've lost 10 pounds and gained lots of muscle, going to the gym, spending more time with the kids, mourned my father, cried more than I did all my life. We were getting along, going on dates, we went on a family vacation, regular sex, everything was good. This past weekend, she mentioned a new group of girls she met who had invited her to dinner. She also mentioned that another girl from a different friend group, friends with the guy I had a boundary with, was having a girls' party and she wanted to meet up with them later. Since it was a girls' thing, I had no issue whatsoever and was super supportive and even helped her pick out her outfit. 10 p.m. comes along and I send a super friendly text letting her know I was going to bed in the next hour, and if she wanted me to pick her up I was happy to. She said not to worry, she'll take an Uber and come through the back door. I fall asleep. The next thing I know, the doorbell is ringing. It's her, completely wasted. It felt like it was a scene from a movie where the frat guys drop off the super drunk sorority girl. I look at the street and there was a guy there, was definitely not an Uber driver. All I could think was, WTF, ? She caused a huge commotion, could barely walk, she was so drunk, so I helped her to bed. She stripped completely naked and passed out. I get in bed with her, and then it just hits me like a truck. She smells like the guy's cologne. I almost puked in my spot. She obviously was with him. I was triggered and furious. Went to go sleep in our kids' room, and couldn't sleep. Anxiety got the best of me and I checked the phone records. Of course, she called the guy right around 10 p.m. when she was done with her first friend group. I was furious. I sent a long text to her before leaving to go to the gym. The only thing that I felt might make me feel better, and just told her I was embarrassed and betrayed. She never responded, and she left to play golf with some girlfriends of hers. I spent the day with the kids, and on the way to the movies, my son asks me why mom was so wasted in the middle of the night. This is a pretty common occurrence lately, where she gets so wasted she blacks out. I was triggered by his comment, and when we got home asked the kids to help me dump out all the alcohol in the house. She drinks every day, and has a hard time controlling her drinking. I've talked to her many times and she's in complete denial. Her thought is that I'm not an alcoholic. It's not like I wake up and pour myself a drink. She finally gets home from golf late in the day and she's crying. I ask her if she wants to talk. She says she's not ready. I sent her a text giving her a heads up that we poured out all the alcohol in the house. This triggers her. She starts yelling at me that I'm in a dollar sign hole, controlling, etc., etc. I confront her about why she was hanging out with the guy even though it was the specific thing we talked about in counseling as a boundary of mine that she agreed to. She said he happened to be there. What was she to do? I then asked her why she called him then. She did not have a good answer. She storms off, goes to a neighbor's, and then comes back and goes to bed. She really hasn't talked to me since. This was about a week ago, and still has not addressed her behavior. She's telling people I'm the asshole for involving the kids. I did apologize to her about that over text the next day, telling her I reacted impulsively because of how I felt, but she never responded. Is this marriage of 14 years worth saving? Obviously I love her and my family unit dearly, but am I just being a chump? Do I have to resign to the fact that she's moved on? I obviously want to keep fighting and keep my family unit together, but can't continue to be run over by her crossing my boundaries. She considers herself a functioning alcoholic. She can drink all day and still go to work out in the morning. There isn't a day that she's not drinking, and she's progressed from wine to tequila. She gets upset at anybody that says she should stop or reduce her drinking. She'll regularly drink to the point of blacking out. I've had many conversations with her about life future that she doesn't remember. She also regularly abuses Xanax and/or will pop a gummy to relax. Every time she says she's going to stop drinking for a while, she'll last a day, and blames it on the kids stressing her out. I contacted him and his wife via text. I asked him why he was hanging out with my wife, even though I made it clear for him to stay away. He never responded, but his wife did and said it was between me and my wife and keep the two of them out of it. I told him I agreed and to keep her husband away from my wife. She claims that they ran into each other. How do you run into each other when she called him directly? The wife has her head in the sand, and she's obviously being lied to. I didn't have the heart to call it out though, just told him to stay away. I have worked my ass off establishing my career and made a ton of money, especially recently, but nowhere near enough that I can retire or cut back for the foreseeable future. I'm aren't around a lot of the time, though, and she has taken on the job of being the sum, which at first was very demanding and stressful, especially since she has had minimal help except what I pay for. Now, though, things have gotten much easier for her. The kids need supervision but not a lot of care, except things are not so easy. She is lonely and restless and adrift. Her identity is wife and mother, but that's kind of shriveling. Now what? 30 years ago she probably would have added churchgoer, but nobody believes that stuff anymore. The bottom line, I think, is that she is going to have to find a hobby that is meaningful and rewarding, and golf ain't it. Spending time with other underemployed affluent women at the golf club just leads to a lot of aimless nasty gossip, boredom, drinking, and time spent with the club's resident Don Juan. I don't know what that hobby might be though. Perhaps the therapist can help. This would say this exactly explains the situation. Update. So after our big fight, we had about a week cool down period. I left for a business trip for a few days, and then she left for the weekend with our son for a long planned trip for a girlfriend's birthday party. We didn't talk at all during this time other than normal logistical stuff, mostly over text. While she was away, I obviously was struggling and tried my best to not be alone. Had friends over for a pool party, married friends with kids, and also played golf with some friends. At the same time, I reached out to my network to discuss the situation and get additional advice. She called me well at her friends and told me she loved me. I told her I loved her too. The next day, she FaceTimed me and was wasted and was acting like everything was normal. I texted her friend and asked if she's in denial about the situation and if she was wasted. She gets home on Monday afternoon. The inside of the house is spotless, but of course she finds the pool area full of pool toys not put away, grill cover not on, and of course for her everything is a mess, etc. Our dog also had a weird infection on her neck which I didn't notice, which of course was my fault. She finally asks if I want to talk, which agree to do it over dinner at a restaurant. Bear in mind we haven't talked for almost 10 days at this point about our huge fight, and she hasn't addressed the guy we're drinking. The first thing she says, "Stop talking to my friends about our dirty laundry, it's embarrassing, it's between you, me, and the therapist. Okay? Not a good start." Then she goes on to admit that she screwed up meeting up with the guy, and admits to having an inappropriate emotional affair with him. She also said that she was hopeful coming back from her trip, but when she saw the mess and the dog she knew I would never change and she wants to separate. I literally had very little to say as I was just processing. I hate to say that I was in shock, because I've obviously suspected something for a while now. We had a couples therapy session 2 days later, which was pre-planned. I literally had no idea what we were going to talk about. The therapist asked us what we want out of the meeting, and we both said a path forward. I finally got to talk about my emotions, and basically said that I'm angry that I've been gaslighted for so long, being accused of being jealous and controlling when obviously I wasn't wrong. I told her I was also angry that we wasted all this time in couples counseling predicated on a lie. I also told her that I was willing to go to hell and back with her, and this was hell, that I still wanted to try for the sake of our kids. Unfortunately, she did not want to try. I'm obviously struggling, but have come to the conclusion that she is toxic and I have to separate. I want to punish shame her, but at the same time I know that won't get me anywhere, and will only cause issues with our kids. As an aside, I also found text messages from some random guy she met going out the night before our counseling session. The guy asked for her coffee, and she said she couldn't right now but for him to hit her up when he gets back from some trip. She's not going to stop lying on me, and she's going to continue to cheat on me if I try to hold on. I guess the old saying is true, if you really love someone, let them go. I wish her peace and hope she finds it. But I can't stick around and let myself and our kids be subjected to her internal demons. By the way, thank you all for the kind words in the previous post. I was telling my friends that it was basically crowdsourcing advice, and I found it very helpful for my own sanity. Second story. Found out last week she'd been cheated on for 10 years. My wife and I started dating in 2013 and got married in 2014. There were 2 times before we got married that my intuition screamed at me to run from the dude, but I ignored it. One was that she had told me that she had sex with over 100 guys. The other being that I saw on her phone she was sexting with a gym buddies while we were exclusively dating. She told me this wasn't cheating, and she would stop. As far as I knew she did stop, and we carried on. 2015 my first of 4 babies were born. I thought everything was perfect. I loved her and our son and thought she loved us. What I didn't know is that at this time she was already cheating on me. More on that later. 2017, she got fired from her teaching job, the day we were about to close on our first home in Denver, because she asked her vice principal if she had kitty piercings during a one-on-one meeting, and because she was caught making out with a co-worker teacher. We almost lost the house in the process since she was suddenly unemployed. She was pregnant at this time in the 9th month with our second-born. I left her and moved home to Florida to raise the boys at my parents' house and file for divorce. She moved from Colorado to Florida to be close to us, begged for her family back, went to counseling, said he'd change, etc., and I took her back. Move forward to April to May this year. We had just gotten back from Hawaii for our 10-year anniversary and had a wonderful time. Then she flew to Chicago for a work conference, marketing coworkers, and came home a different person. On Mother's Day, I was treated like shit. My plans made but she rejected. Could hardly look at or talk to me. I had red flags going off so much I thought I was going to be sick, but tried to have a good day anyways and took my kids swimming. Immediately I asked her if she had cheated on me in Chicago because of my intuition. No, was her response, but she thought maybe she was falling out of love with me. I thought maybe it was something I did wrong, so I bought us a couple's workbook and signed us up for therapy right away. None of it made much sense to me since we just celebrated our anniversary in Hawaii. She was willingly on board. I thought things were maybe going to be okay. July 1st. She left her phone near my work desk and everything in me screamed to read it. I saw and she sent folder the email she sent the AP from Chicago. It was vulgar and hateful and full of the reasons to him of why it was okay to be with a married woman with 4 young buddies. I went downstairs and asked her who he was and saw her panic. She started saying it was a mistake. I wanted to kick her out immediately. The AP didn't know she was married that weekend in Chicago. I messaged him on Instagram and he told me she wore no ring. He felt awful. He said his therapist said, "This is a woman who has done this before." Skip to July 25. I asked her over and over again to tell me the truth. Had she done this to me many times? She finally confessed. She says she is a sex addict. She has been having extramarital affairs since our first son was 2 weeks old. She left us sleeping nursing to go meet up with the Craigslist advertising guys. I feel like a complete idiot. I am a smart man. I am a doctor. I didn't see this happening right under my nose in my own house. I wanted to end it all on July 25th. I'm still here. I kept seeing my firstborn's face in my mind and couldn't go through with it. I'm trying to find the will to keep going for my 4 young babies. It all feels hopeless though, so I thought I'd try to join some online groups for help. I have started therapy and she said just try to focus on survival right now. This feels like it has taken everything from me, from my children. I feel like I am married to a stranger. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm so sorry for everyone who goes through this trauma and unimaginable pain. Third story. Did my GF is cheating? My 36M, GF, 34F, has been incredibly cold and distant lately. She recently started a new job, with the graveyard shift, and that took us to Seattle and her to Texas for a few weeks. We shared our locations to ensure we were safe. During this time, and a few weeks after, I noticed that she has been constantly texting, claiming it's for her group project. A few days later, I attend my best friend's wedding across the country, and I notice she isn't answering my calls. She says she's out with her work friends at an arcade. I asked her for a group photo to put faces to a name. She refuses. I later view her location, about 8 a.m., 5 a.m. for her, and it shows her chilling at a beach. Very peculiar behavior. I checked later in the day, after my best friend's ceremony, and it shows her at a cafe the rest of the day. When I see her again, she is constantly texting and being very cold and distant to me. I text her brother if she's seeing anyone new. He says she's not that type of person. I believe him. She then goes on a hike for some alone time. I call her during this time. She is unusually quiet and in a rush. We chat about our day for about 30 seconds, how she's going to her grandparents, and before I say I love you, she hangs up. I later see her drive to a restaurant, then back to the hike, then her grandparents. Completely opposite directions. Almost like she's dropping someone off. I see her later at night and asked her what's going on. She's silent. I tell her I know she's been seeing another guy in this story. She lies and lies, but then she says I'm scared. Those words destroyed me. I ask for a break as I process things. Immediately after this happens, I notice her location driving around, but her car is still near my apartment, meaning someone picked her up. It was later revealed that out of all her friends, she explicitly contacted this new guy, the guy she was hiding. I was heartbroken. A few days later, more level-headed, I asked her about all of this. I stated how it seems like she's cheating. She cries out, "He's just a friend. You never let me have guy friends. How did you figure this out? I will always wait for you." To be clear, she has plenty of guy friends, and I'm okay with them. I'm so bewildered and feel betrayed, so I send her home again to process. Instead of reassuring me, she defends herself. She admitted she was not with a group, but with this new guy at the arcade and beach. She was with this new guy on a hike for a long time, and we both shared locations. Sharing locations was her idea. Am I overreacting?